The information discussed on Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell is believed to be from reliable sources. However, no responsibility is assumed for inaccuracies. No statement made on this broadcast should be construed as a specific recommendation of a particular investment product. Views expressed are those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent those of CBS Radio. Use only as directed.
Smiles, everyone. Smiles. And prepare yourself for...
Show me the money!
Ladies and gentlemen, the radio broadcast experience designed to keep your wallet in top condition. It's Talkin' Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Talkin' money. Talkin' money. More money, more money, more money.
And now entering the studio, your guru for fiscal fitness, Jeff Tarbell.
Oh, see, I heard it right as soon as he turned that thing on. You hear it?
I don't hear anything.
Wait till the...
Very, very, very faint.
Do you hear that? Mm-hmm. See? No, it's not us, Richard.
How about now?
I can still hear it. That's going to
I'm not even plugged in.
You're not even plugged in?
I just unplugged myself.
Hold on a second. Let me try this. This is a perfect way to start every professional radio show. What number are you, 4? See, I turned it off on this end and I don't hear it.
I'm off. Yeah, I didn't hear it.
Yeah, see, it's 4. It's number 4. Every single, and it's not your.
It's the mic, not the headphone.
It's the mic. We'll deal with. Shut up and don't blame me. Okay, it's Saturday. The equipment's. We're probably running off a generator right now. Small farm animals churning the machine. It's okay. If it drives me crazy, if I get like a little twitchy, you'll know it'd be the times they go. Hey, how you doing? This is how radio works. Exactly how radio works.
That's right.
This is just a shy step above being in my basement in my house. But we'll let it go. If not, we'll switch over here. Because it's better if I can't see over here anyway.
Probably.
Okay, because you have the head for radio, so it's perfect behind the monitor. We'll get going here. How you doing? Welcome in. This is Talkin' Money. J-Faw, Jeff Tarbell. And we start every show the same with a guy who takes absolutely no blame and absolutely no personal responsibility for what goes on around here. Because we're only here an hour a day, and you're here all week. But it's our fault, I'm sure. What's happening in your world there, Mister?
It's perfectly fine for the morning show this morning.
Well, there's nobody that sits in that seat.
Yeah, all morning for 3 hours.
Well, maybe they don't hear as well as I do.
I was here.
Okay, so can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay, see, then that's not me.
It's something that John is doing. I don't know what you're doing. We're gonna have to go over what your setup is when you get.
Yeah, no, I do know that computer when we get here in the mornings all the way tucked over here, so maybe it's picking up some feedback off that computer.
Maybe.
That could be. Anyway, what's happening in your world there?
Well, everyone knows that it's been playoff baseball. I turned his mic off so we could get rid
Gotcha.
of that.
Thank you.
It's playoff baseball, and everyone, I don't know, who these people are that get, so just, worked up over Yasiel Puig lifting his hand and just jogging to first when you think he's got a home run. And then the guy actually turns it into a triple. It's like, oh, that's not the way the game's played. That's not how you play the game. You don't play the game, so don't tell other people how to play the game. You know what? You're supposed to have fun. Who wants to just see people just doing the right thing the whole time? You know what? As a Cardinal fan, I would be happy for that because I'd want to shut him up. I wouldn't want to see him get another base hit. And I think it would be pretty funny when he overthrows his cutoff man last night a couple times.
And they didn't make it in anyway,
yeah,
right?
They didn't make it in. So just calm down, everybody. It's sports.
It's not soccer. It's baseball. And now my microphone's cutting in and out too. This is weird. I don't know. We're going home. Oh, that's my headphones. Okay, we got you. We got a guest in studio today. We're not going to tell you who or why. We're just going to let you figure it out. Actually, Shauna Lawrence is here from the San Juan Water District. Let's see if we can get Shauna's microphone on here. Shauna, you're on number 2. She's on 3. Now John's on 2. Who's on what? There we go. Let's try that.
Now who's on first?
Yeah. Now your microphone sounds good. So what are you doing next Saturday? We're gonna need a guest who can apparently show up and not break stuff when she comes in. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, and you?
Good. Thank you for coming in on a Saturday. I've been saving all my water-related and warming climate change articles and all the stuff, so I'm ready for you. I'm ready for you to dispel the myth or confirm the myth about global warming. That's why you're here, right?
Oh yeah, I definitely am the expert at global warming.
You got that. You got that figured. And we're talking about cutthroat fish this morning, which we're not sure if a cutthroat is a. Was that what we were talking about?
No, striper.
Oh, striper. Yeah, is a striper a bass or a trout? We don't know that. I don't know that, but I do know you can get fish at Whole Foods if you go, and we were all confirmed on that. Hi, little boy.
Hello.
This should be. I think this show should be on televised for some reason anyway. So we're going to talk about water in our area today. If you've driven out, they don't call that the dam road anymore. What's the new one called? The one that crosses over the river there. There's another name for it.
I don't know. I think I still call it the dam road.
I do
so
too.
I don't know.
And anytime there's traffic, I call it the dam road. It doesn't matter.
Right.
This damn road's full of traffic, so it doesn't really matter where I am. I'm always on the damn road. But the road, the new one, the bridge that crosses over the river, in a van down by the river. If you go by there now, you'll see all the work that's been going on out at Folsom Lake. And if you look over the dam, you'll look that there's nothing on the other side anymore. Used to be a lake there. So we're going to talk about a little bit about that during the second segment today. We'll make the first one a little shorter than normal, so we'll give Shauna quite a bit of time to discuss what we want to do. And if you want to jump in and your calls and questions today, you can do that. 339-1140 and 1-800-920-1140. It looks like, although I'm just guessing, that maybe the other equipment's working. The phone line's working. The text line appears to be working, so we'll try that. You can text us at 44-1140 if you want to do that as well. A couple things that happened during the week. We were just talking about this before the show started today. The BART strike. They are apparently back on strike again, a transit strike that has closed down BART. And here's the part I don't get. Please jump in if you can correct me. If you have an $80,000 a year job, plus or minus, I think that is the average pay. I could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. But it's a lot. It's a good job, and you don't show up. Why is it that you are not fired? And why are we not just, if you're running BART, why are we not just placing ads on Craigslist saying, would you like to run the toll booth, or would you like to turn the engine on? And I mean, doesn't the little train run itself anyway, John? Have you been on it? Is there actually someone who actually starts and stops it, or does it just go on? I think there's just a guy that watches there to see if you hit somebody, they can tell you what color shirt he was wearing. Yeah, see, I don't get it. But anyway, I don't travel to the Bay Area. I know a lot of you do. It's a nightmare, and I don't get it. I don't understand why you have negotiations, you set a contract, and if they don't show up, you don't just fire them. Mr. President Reagan did that one time in the past with the air traffic controllers. Seemed to control that issue a little bit, but that's one question out there for the week. I did see that your professional Congress and senators got their act together.
Kind of.
Which means they didn't do anything. And they agreed to disagree, and they opened the government back up.
Only to prolong the inevitable.
Yes, and this was out of all of that, this is what caught me the most. So they did a little survey back to 1953. Not a survey, they just went back and looked at government spending from 1953 to 2013. So that's, I'm out of fingers, that's about 60 years. Sounds about right. Plus or minus a year. So 60 years worth of federal debt, and they adjusted it all for today's dollars. So we're talking about today's dollars. So from 1953 to 2003, so basically for 50 years, our government racked up a federal debt of about $3 trillion in today's dollars. In 50 years, $3 trillion. That's a lot of money. In the last 10 years, we've racked up a debt just shy of $12 trillion. So it took us 50 years to get $3 trillion in debt, and another 10 to get us 12 more. We're now sitting somewhere in the neighborhood of getting close to 17 trillion we're heading toward in debt. And I don't know, people ask how much is $1 trillion? I have no idea. I couldn't tell you how much $1 trillion. I don't know what it looks like. I'd like to figure it out, but I don't know. All I know is that if it's so much money you don't know what it looks like, I don't know you know how to get rid of it. And that's the problem, and we didn't solve the problem again. And now we have pushed the limit to $16.7 trillion, and we have until February 7th to figure this out again. So about February 6th, we'll be back here having this discussion again, that we don't know what's going on, and the Republicans are bad for closing this down. The Democrats won't solve any problems, and they're both pointing fingers at each other. And frankly, as we probably should with the BART people, we should go fire all their asses, and we should all take a position there in the job. And this has been my contention all along. When you hire somebody as a lifetime politician and all they're doing is switching positions, they're never ever going to make a decision that looks bad on their watch. So they'll always try to push it off. But the problem is there's never a next person. I mean, you look at the same group of people. They're almost always the same group of people are there. They've been there forever. You'll throw in some little some little new players here and there, but they're fringe players, and they don't get to the meat of anything. So I think I'm still for number one, there should be actual real fighting in Congress. I mean, fist fighting. I mean, I think that would solve a lot. And I think the women would probably win because they fight dirty.
Pulling off their shoes.
Oh
with the heel.
crack right in the hip. I mean, that's number one. I'm in favor of full fighting, full cage fighting, and then number two, if that doesn't work, then we fire everybody. And then John and I
get in there and make some hard decisions.
We need a king. I mean, we're just beyond. We just have to have one person's going to have to make the decision. And if the king doesn't make a good, he loses his head. I mean, if it doesn't go well, boom.
That's right.
So we need to go back to the. Laura's like, oh my God, what did I do? These guys are psychotic, and I'm down here on a Saturday, and I'm locked in a padded room with these two idiots.
That's right.
So that is my sum total. This is a fun little article. So the Republicans, and I is one. If you haven't figured that out over the years, I generally dislike both parties, myself included. But the Republicans are basically going to eat themselves alive, because there's two factions now that have decided they don't agree with one another. One of them is the Republican individual. The other one is the Republican business. And now the business people looked at the last shutdown and said that didn't go well for us. We lost money. These things. We didn't get anything out of it. And then you have the Republican individual, a lot of them which are labeled as, some of them as Tea Party people, are saying, hey, that was great. We got ourselves on the map. We stood up for something we agree in. And now you're going to see the two parties are going to go after their own representative in different ways, and and it's going to be ugly. And I've predicted for a while there may not be a Republican Party a whole lot longer. In fact, if I were going to run for something, I would probably have to run. You'd probably have to run in California. You'd have to run as a Democrat. Because it says R next to it. You're not going to get hired. Even if you're like,
right.
A disciple, you're not going to get hired unless it has a D next to it. But I think the Republican Party is going to eat itself alive. And I don't know what. Maybe the independents. Maybe it'll be Democrat and independent in the future. I don't know. This is not a entirely political show, but Republicans aren't standing out as big time geniuses. Speaking of geniuses, this is genius. So John and I, if interest rates get any higher, we'll be living in the Washington State area, apparently. Although we're going to need one of the approved 334 retailers approved to open up across the state next year. And we have to limit, John, our production to 40 metric tons of annual marijuana sales. So marijuana cultivation is now approved in the state of Washington. It took the state capitol session less than an hour for the 3-member board to unanimously approved a host of regulations covering pot production. They're going to allow 2 million square feet of statewide marijuana cultivation. And here's the problem, folks, when you let the government into business with you, is that you're trying to grow it on your own, they're going to nail your rear end. They don't want any competition. So they estimate there's about $1.2 billion in annual sales that they will have in currently legal and illegal in the state, and they want to tax all that. So you're not allowed to grow on your own. And this was the part that I found interesting. Remember we were talking about gambling last week, and it was like, 20% of the gamblers lose 80% of the money, which is about really true for anything. You look at almost any industry, 20% of people make all the money. So research commissioned by the board indicated that about 200,000 heavy users, those reported in the survey that consume marijuana at least 20 times in an average month, account for 80% of the pot consumption. So as a business person, I am not going after all of the pot users. As my new retailer, I'm going after the 200,000. The rest of the business you can have. But there you go. So starting next year, and I don't know if I mentioned on the air or not, but I was in Seattle 2 weeks ago, and I was walking into my hotel room, and at the end of the night, and the room kind of came. It was kind of a weird room. It kind of came to like a little V. There was like 4 rooms that kind of were all like in the end of the thing. And I walked into the room, into the doorway there. And I started looking around and going, my God, did I get high and I didn't even know it? I don't even smoke pot. And I smelled like it. And I realized it was coming out underneath the doors in the hotel, in the rooms in the same, in that little, because it was kind of focused in the cubby holder. So I sat down and had a candy bar and hung out for a little bit. It's great. But anyway, if you're going to Washington State, make sure you buy from an approved retailer. And you can buy, there's a limit how much you can purchase usable single-ounce increments.
I like the part that it only took them an hour to decide.
Less than an hour.
Less than an hour to decide, okay, here we go. And then anything else, nobody can make up a decision.
No.
Crazy.
Hey, I mean, if you follow the money, if there's $1.2 billion a year in annual sales that they're not getting tax money on now, so I'm going to guess that you tax marijuana sales at whatever rate. Well, let's see. Most sales tax has some federal tax and some state tax in it, right? So If the Fed doesn't approve of that, then I guess you don't pay the Fed 6%. You just pay the state 2%. I don't know how it works, but I know there's some percentage of it. $1.2 billion is more than they're getting now. So that's a good deal for them. And I'm just going to pick up the brownie sales next door.
That's right.
We're just selling brownies and other baked goods next to the store.
Other munchies.
We're going to take a quick break. John's got a quiz question for you. We've got some round table pizza. I got some Talkin Money drink koozies, and we'll send all those out to your house as well. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140, or you can text us at 441140. It appears to be working. What do you got on your plate there?
That's right. So Hans Riegel has passed away. Hans Riegel at 90 years old.
Ooh.
And what was his empire he built? Hans Riegel built an empire.
I know the kids digged him.
It's a Chewy empire.
Chewbacca. 339-1140. 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 441140. What did Hans Riegel start? I guarantee you everybody on this planet's had at least one.
You can't only have one.
That's true, but at least one.
Yes.
And if you're a heavy user, you had 200 a year.
That's right.
This is Talkin Money. We're going to be
right back.
Talkin Money.
Well, alrighty then. We're back to Talkin Money with Jeff Tarbell.
Right. 1,000 million, 1,000 billion is a trillion. Right? Is that what we figured? You were just reading it, Richard.
Yes.
That was so long ago.
you got up and moved, huh? That's the problem once you move. Yeah, we figured 1,000 million was a billion, 1,000 billion was a trillion, and we're 17 trillion. So we're 17,000 billion dollars in debt. If you can figure that out.
Right? A whole lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot. We all figured we wanted to just be able, we wanted to have that problem to pay the taxes on that. We did get a quiz winner, 339-1140. We didn't get anybody off the text, so that makes me wonder if the text is working. So maybe you try us, text us. If you know the answer, you can text us at 441140 after we give it out. That'd be a little easier.
Yeah.
So who passed away?
So Hans Riegel built the candy empire based on the gummy bear.
Oh, gummy bear.
Gummy bear, yes.
Shauna was thinking it was like R-E-G-A-L, like the movie theater guy.
Right.
But it's R-I-E-G-E-L, right?
Yep. So he's
what's his story?
He's
how do you get in?
German guy.
Yeah, well, I figured that.
And based on his family, apparently there was a TV show with some funny bear-type people dancing around. And
he decided to make that into a chewy candy? He's got more creativity than I do. I see a lot of things that don't. Maybe if that's our goal for now on, everything we see that looks kind of cool, we'll just turn it into something you can eat. That'd be awesome. So we got that right. So if you had the quiz question to that, we'll send you out some round table pizza, and we'll get that out in the mail to you. Thank you so much for playing along. And
so the company Haribo, which it now is, makes about 100 million gummy bears a day. 100 million gummy bears daily at 15 sites around the world.
That's almost $1 trillion a week.
And employs 6,000 people.
Is that right?
That's right.
Wow. Like, how many people do you need for the gummy bear?
Annual sales roughly $2.7 billion. Gummy bears.
So there's a guy that's only 8 years away from solving our entire national debt. If every single gummy bear dollar went into our debt, we'd be out in 8 years. Awesome. I knew gummy bears was the answer at the end. I just hadn't figured out what the question was.
That's right.
We've got, as I mentioned before, we have a guest in studio. Shauna Lawrence is the general manager, San Juan Water District, which is, I am one of your customers.
Lucky you, we've got great water.
You do. You do have great water. And I have a well, too, so I don't even use your product on my grass. So I'm trying to conserve for you.
Oh, thank you.
It comes out of the ground. Only after I bought the house when the guy said, I'm not sure I drink that water. I said that would be better on the report before I bought the house rather than after I bought the house. But thank you anyway for your concern. So we hooked up to water. And so I get this every month, right? Comes the watergram. And I read it. I don't know if anybody else, this is the problem. If you start reading things, it will drive you nuts. And then I start wondering, where does our water go? And if you had to take a guess, John, because you haven't seen this yet, if you take all the water that gets used, what's the biggest user of potable water? Would that be a good definition? Mm-hmm. So
no, potable is after it's already been treated.
Okay, so
raw water.
Raw water. So it comes out of the bottom of the lake. Who uses the most?
The rivers and streams.
Well, what's the correct answer? Go ahead. You got on here agriculture.
Yes. I was trying to make sure I didn't know which
Which chart I was looking
chart
at?
you're looking at. Yes. It's either agriculture or it can be just the environment and flowing, which is what you mentioned, if you also add in the amount that goes out the delta and out into the sea.
Out to the ocean. So there you go. So if you've been out to Folsom Lake or you've been by Folsom Lake or you've driven across what we're referring to as the dam road, the new bridge, you will have seen tremendous amounts of work going on over the last few years. First of all, they had to get the new bridge built so we wouldn't drive across the dam and blow it up. Got that done. And now you go out there, and particularly at night, you'll see these massive cranes and lots of things going on. So what's going on? We'll work our way to the water. What's going on out there? I mean, what's going on with Folsom Lake?
Well, that was a combination project. It's called the Joint Federal Project, and that was a combination of the people who run the lake, which is the Bureau of Reclamation, doing some safety work on the dams, and then it was the flood control, looking at making Folsom Dam so that we can release a larger quantity of water at once, so that we have less flood risk for Sacramento.
Okay, so rather than and that's the part that, and I actually saw the picture one time, so I kind of know what they're doing. But if you imagine looking at the dam from the backside, the riverside of it, to the far right, they have this massive, what looks like a big drain line, a big drainage swell going up to, right now it just goes up to the rock bed because they haven't breached into the lake yet. So the goal there is to be able to more quickly release water in a flood scenario.
Correct.
Okay.
So that we don't risk, or not we, so the Bureau doesn't risk overtopping the dam.
Yeah,
and it has to be concrete so that you don't wash out the entire side of the mountain when the water comes.
So are they going, because right now it looks to me like that, and I know this is not your expertise, but you're out there, you've seen it. It looks to me like that's all just like gravel. Like if the water came pouring through there, it would just, so are they going to concrete that whole thing, do you know? The bypass section? Or
I'm fairly certain they would have to.
Yeah.
So yes.
So now I was under the impression, and maybe I'm wrong now, because I thought the whole goal, and I've always been told over the years, and maybe wrongly so, that the reason we have to keep the water level low during the winter, so you get these massive storms, and the water gets to some point, and then they start letting it out, and you're thinking, well, how do you know it's going to keep raining like this? What are you doing? I mean, we're not near the top yet. And there's some magical date that says, okay, up until this date, we got to keep the water from here down. And then after that, we can let it go. So I always like those big May storms because I know that they'll hold the water in there. This is your average idiot talking. So what do you know what the rules are about?
Yes, they call it a rule curve, and starting in November, they have to be at a certain level, and based on a bunch of different requirements, there has to be either between 400 and 600,000 acre feet of storage available for a flood. That dam holds just under 1 million acre feet.
Right.
So it tells you about the quantity of it. But if you notice most years, starting in November, like if we look at this year, we are well below the flood control. The flood control number does not drive Folsom Lake at this point. There are times in the year, if we got a huge storm right now, it would have to release a lot to make sure it didn't fill above the 400.
Even right now?
Well, depending upon how much it raised,
okay,
up into the 400.
It's pretty empty.
Yeah, right now we have quite a ways. We're down around the 300,000.
Okay.
So we have another, depending upon the scenario, 100 to 300,000 acre feet that we could store in there. That's actually our biggest concern this year. I always laugh because we're being told this year's winter is supposed to be dry out until next summer.
Don't say that.
Due to the temperatures out in the ocean. I always laugh because nobody can tell me if it's going to rain on Sunday.
Right.
But supposedly, based on that, this year is supposed to be a dry year, which is why we're out talking to everybody, because Folsom's called an annual reservoir, which effectively means there is such a big area that runs into Folsom Lake that it fills most years. So it's relatively easy. So you can drain it and fill it. In the past, it didn't drain as much as it did now. Now, because of the increased use for all the water that everybody wants to drink and the fish and everything else, the lake is being brought down significantly lower. As a result, if the following year is very dry, we will not have adequate water supply to meet all the needs. And with them projecting it dry, that's why we're out talking. And it's kind of been the perfect storm now. They've come out with that document that said, with climate change and resulting to climate change, that the current operations will make Folsom Lake go to dead pool. I love that word.
Makes me thirsty.
Yeah, 1 out of 9 years.
Great.
For months on end. Small problem.
So So my first question was, and maybe this shouldn't be addressed to you, but I thought that one of the things they were going to do is, okay, we're going to put these big monster tubes over here on the side, which gives us a quick way to evacuate water. So then we won't have to maintain that 400,000 to 600,000 square foot. We can maybe move that up to only 200,000 because we can get rid of the water real quick. So that wasn't the goal?
The current legislation requires the 400 to 600. However, I have to give the Corps of Engineers a lot of credit. They are working hard to figure out if there's a way that we can keep additional storage in because of flood issues. Now, again, it's not the flood storage level that's causing the lake to drop really low. It's the huge amount of water that's needed.
Yeah, but if you so last year was a good example. We had because John and I are both skiers, so we monitor the weather more than the weather people monitor the weather. And we had an incredible start to the year. It's like we were skiing by Thanksgiving, and then January came along, it was great, and then it just boom, there was nothing more. So under their current rules, you have a great November and December and 1st of January, and you're thinking, okay, this is awesome. So they are thinking, okay, this is going to keep up, so we'll just let all the water go because we'll get more. And then we didn't get a damn drop after January whatever day, and it was dry. And it's been dry ever since until it rained last week. So if you could keep that level coming up and up and up, and you kept it up at 800,000 instead of at 4, then you'd have more room for error there.
Absolutely, and that's one thing we're working on, trying to get those rules changed so that people can use common sense in decision making. Right now it's definitely we call it a rule curve you have to follow. It also is that we on the West Coast don't have great information regarding what the weather's going to be like coming up. When you get in the Gulf, it's life and safety, so there's a huge amount of data. On the West Coast, we don't have that kind of data. So understanding whether it's going to keep raining is not information we have. That said, we definitely have got to figure out a way to keep a higher level of storage going into the end of each year so that if the next year's dry, we have an adequate supply to get through at least 2 years of exceedingly dry years.
We're talking with Shauna Lawrence. She's a general manager at the San Juan Water District out there in, I guess your address is Folsom technically, right?
Well, Granite Bay.
Granite Bay, okay, yes. Yeah. So
we cover both.
On the border there. We got to do this. We got to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and pick up some more of this. Cause I want to talk to you about what happens when we get to a Deadpool situation and where our water is going and what you guys think we should be doing. I've also got some articles about climate change, but maybe those don't apply to the West Coast. Maybe they only apply to everywhere else but here. But we'll talk about those as well. Got a couple phone lines open if you want to jump in today. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140, or you can text us at 441140. If for some reason you're somebody who has some experience with, and I have a lot of clients that work out there at the dam and do that, we'd love to hear from you as well. John's got a quiz question for you. What do you got going there?
Yeah, one of our pet peeves, but anyhow, one of our fantastic federal programs.
Yes.
Which federal program has, let's see, there was a cost, 2008, $819 million cost.
Okay.
In 2012, it increased to $2.19 billion. So in 4 years, we have about a $1.4 billion increase in which federal program?
Like a giveaway type program?
Yes.
Okay. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You can call us on 339-1140 if you want, or text us at 441140. Give Chris, you can take 2 winners off that if you want. We'll give away some Round Table Pizza, some of our Talkin Money drink koozies. This is Talkin Money. John Fodorero, Shauna Lawrence, Jeff Tarbell. We're going to be
right back, Jack.
Talkin Money.
And we're back to Talkin Money. And here's Jeff Tarbell.
Did you get a winner there, Chris? No? We did that kind of quick. So what was our quiz question? Hold on a second. Your microphone now is working, so let me try that. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
I'm there? Okay. Our quiz question, since I'm playing hot seat.
Yeah, no kidding.
Which one of our free federal programs has increased up to $2.19 billion in 2012? So $1.4 billion increase in the last 4 years. This
Yeah.
is one of our government's free programs.
So it doubled.
Yeah, yeah. More than that.
More than that.
Yeah, from 800 to
800
2.
to 2.1.
Yeah, almost 150% there almost.
That's right.
On a free giveaway program. Maybe some of you have this program. You can call us if you do. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. You can text us at 441140. Which one of the I'm trying to remember if it was it the last selection? It was kind of a big deal or a big catching point. I don't remember, but yeah, it's another giveaway. If you know the answer to that, you can give us a call. We'll give you some Round Table Pizza and one of the Talkin Money drink koozies. In studio with us, Shauna Lawrence is in from the Water District out there in the Granite Bay Folsom area, San Juan Water District. We're talking a little bit about the future of our area here. I've been carrying around, and maybe the Water District doesn't have a official position on global warming, but I've been carrying around a couple articles that were from the AP News and the Wall Street Journal. This one was dated September 19th, 2013, Stockholm, Sweden. Scientists working on a landmark UN report on climate change are struggling to explain why global warming appears to have slowed down the past 15 years, even though greenhouse gas emissions keep rising. And leaked documents obtained by the AP show there are deep concerns among governments over how to address the issue of next week's meeting on Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. This one says here, Arctic ice grows almost 30% after record melt in 2012. So do we have global warming or do we not? Is it man-made or is it not? Those are some of the issues at hand. We were talking during the break about, regardless of maybe what your thoughts are on how things occur, if we start to see the oceans rise a little bit, and it doesn't take a lot. That's a lot of water for a little bit but if they start to rise, they'll push in on the delta. And you were mentioning that one of the goals, so you have, what I'm starting to get is you have a bunch of conflicting interests when it comes to water.
Yes.
And you have a bunch of different parties. You have all these different bureaus and agencies. You have politicians. You got users. You've got business users. You got personal users. You got Northern California, Southern California. You got a winner. You got all these little things that are going on. We've got this little pond of 1 million square feet here in our backyard. There's just under 4 million at Lake Shasta, and they're talking about maybe pumping that up a little bit with the dam bigger. So we got a limited supply and an unlimited demand, if we're not careful.
Correct.
And on top of all that, the part that you mentioned before the break, which I had not heard or even thought about, was if you have ocean water rising, coming up, it'll start to infill into the delta. And you have a segment of people who don't want to see that happen. So I guess one way that they're trying to fight that is, okay, if you let more fresh water out, it'll flush the delta, it'll push the oceans back.
Correct. Yes, it's supposedly, whether you're talking cycle or change, we have no official position on that. But based on the fact that it's come out that by 2060, they expect the ocean to raise 17 inches.
Okay.
And that we're trying to keep that at the difference between the salt and the fresh water at the same location in the delta using fresh water. And I'm not quite certain how you would possibly do that if you look at the size of the ocean.
There ain't enough fresh water on this side of the dam to push back. There's only one person I know who's been fairly decent at pushing the ocean back. He might be busy right now. So short of that, I'm not sure how it's like trying to fight a fire with a squirt gun.
Yes.
Here comes a foot and a half of ocean water coming this way, and we're trying to squirt it out with the river. And I always get back to, okay, let's say we didn't have any dams at all, and we had a year like this. Where would the ocean be now? I mean, the saltwater. Saltwater would be in West Sacramento, because there isn't anything coming this way, right now. So I mean, don't tell me about that we've adjusted the environment. There ain't no water running down the rivers naturally right now. So the water would ebb and flow as the winter went on. And if you believe that the oceans are going to rise 1.5 feet, and maybe they will, then and you think you're going to push it back with water behind the dam, I think.
Right.
Water behind your ears.
And that's our biggest problem as it goes forward is right now it can't be allowed to move because of the various water diversions in the delta and the water that's from the pumps that's going south, which is why one of the main reasons they're looking to build the tunnels through the delta. There's some very good points about the tunnels. There's also a big concern, which is if we move the tunnels and 2/3 of the state starts to take their water up further, one, we don't have the water that's flowing through the delta anymore. So how does that affect? But two, if we don't figure out how we're going to operate those tunnels, then we're going to end up with the death of a million cuts. And 1 out of 9 years, we're going to have zero water in Folsom for recreation, water use, fish on the American River. I mean, it wipes out the environment and everything going forward. So we have got to figure out holistically, not wait until year 59, but that's supposedly 2060 we're going to have the problem. We need to figure out how we're going to operate this now and what the regulations are going to be. Because to me, I've always say it doesn't make sense to save these fish and then fry them later when we run out of water.
Yeah. And so you're not against the tunnels?
No, and I'm laughing because this is one that gets confusing, but the tunnels, if they're operated right, probably make great engineering sense. The issue is how do we operate them? Because if you look at areas like the Owens Valley and some of the other things that have occurred, it's not the situation and how the water systems operated has caused major problems.
So us Northern Californians look at the tunnel as a scam of a way. It's okay that Southern California is just trying to take all of our water, and so what is the stated purpose behind the tunnels? Is it to get fresh water quicker to SoCal?
The stated reason behind it is, at least according to what's been in the paper from some of the managers, is combination of being able to get fresh water without salt in it, especially if there's an earthquake, because it could take out the delta and allow fresh water in. It also is to maintain up above with the climate change issue, so addressing that one. So for Northern California, what's the big concern? If we don't figure out and have the assurances that the operations of those tunnels going to be correct. Think of what would happen if they were taking that much water this year.
Yeah.
Up there. This is the perfect year going into this year where our lake would go dry. And we can't allow that. So my comment is until somebody tells me how we're going to operate those in a way that our lakes don't go dry, I have to be against the project.
Yeah, because it seems like if you have an abundant year, particularly one that's early in the year, then the tunnels could be a good way of shipping more water out of this, rather than just flushing it down the drain and into the ocean. Beyond what we need to do there anyway, you could move it on down, and you get in some years like this year, you have to say, hey, look at there's got to be a plan A and a plan B. And
storage, so that they take the water, ship it south when the water's available. We have abundant flood years, all that sort of thing. Put it in storage so that in years like this winter, if it's dry, the water doesn't get taken. And those are the kind of operational discussions and facilities that need to be taken care of.
What are your thoughts on, are we ever going to see any sort of an Auburn dam? And I don't mean like a Folsom dam, but I mean some sort of a flood retention type of a facility there, do you think?
Well, I'm not your flood expert, but my comment on this would be I'm not sure that we would need additional flood storage. I think it's probably going to be the ability to store more water. If we really are going to get a lot less snow in the future, snowpack and stuff, we are going to run out of water supply. However, I do like to say that we are very strongly in favor of upstream storage. The Auburn Dam creates some political commotion.
Right.
So I just say upstream, wherever the right place is to put it, someone knows more than I do.
Yeah, there's also been some discussion, isn't there? I'm trying to think, what is it Dunsmuir, or there's some area out there off I-5 that was talking about damming up and actually building another little retention area.
Yeah, and there's also a Sites Reservoir that's on list, and that one is out off I-5, and it's not on the river, so it wouldn't dam up the river.
Right.
And it would fill during wet years and then utilize water in dry years for quite a bit of environmental benefit.
Yeah, I'm like you mentioned during the break, I wouldn't call myself an environmentalist, but I like to be out and do things and do fun things too. And
but pro-environment.
Yeah, but I still think that everybody will fight water storage and those sort of things until the minute they turn on their faucet, nothing comes out.
I hate this planning by crisis.
Yeah, and then it's too damn late. Because you turn on the faucet, okay, now we got to do something, and then you start doing something, and the next couple of years it rains, we have a good rain, and then maybe we don't need. It just seems like the lack of future planning. Someone's going to have some guts to say, look, we've got the state of California is growing by X numbers of people. We've got increased water usage. We're the number one agriculture area almost in the world. Do we want to keep doing that or not? I mean, we could just let everything go dry in the Central Valley. It would save us about 85% of our water use, and we will put all those people out of jobs. We won't produce any food for the world. That's not going to work.
The economy might go down just a tad bit in that case.
Yeah. So we have to make some business decisions here about where are we going to get more storage from. I like the idea at Shasta. Shasta has the ability to go up. I think they said they can raise it. Is it 10 feet or?
It's either 6 or 10. I can't remember.
Yeah, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you take 10 feet over an enormous amount of area, it's the equivalent of another Folsom Lake for very little money. And I use that quotes. It's a lot of money, but comparatively, in terms of, believe it or not, there are people that actually argue we shouldn't do that. But that's a minority. But I mean, to be able to create another Folsom Lake for a small amount of money with very little political genius.
It's going to be absolutely necessary.
Yep,
to get additional storage.
And I just think we have to have the ability above Folsom to retain some water. So you get a monster storm. We're going to hold some of it up here. We'll eke it in. If it goes dry January 11th, like it did last year, we'll let it all come on into Folsom. And we'll hold it, and it'll be a natural river all the year long. And in the emergency years, boom, we have to stick some water in there. We
definitely have got to have more storage, both upstream and downstream of the Delta.
And I look at that and I say, how does that not make sense? And I remember we did this show a couple of years ago, and I had guys that run river rafting things, wanted to take me out and drown me on the America River. This is going to kill our business. And I'm just like, it doesn't have to kill your business. I mean, maybe there are some portions of a year that aren't going to be so good. But, I mean, we're talking about 35 million Californians or whatever we have in California that we're going to need some water. We don't have enough. I mean, there just isn't. So that's 2 minutes we got left to go. What happens in a year? So let's say that tomorrow the water drops below your ability to draw it out. What do San Juan water customers do?
Well, we'll have to pump out a health and safety level for the area that doesn't have groundwater, like San Juan Retail, as we move into Citrus Heights, Fair Oaks, Orangevale, and the city of Folsom north of the American River. We will be getting a health and safety level. We'll also hopefully be able to utilize groundwater. We're working on a project to be able to pump more groundwater out of Sacramento. But it most definitely will require a drop to a very low water usage and a reduction we've never called for before.
And then the business ag end would just go away? There just wouldn't be any water delivery to ag? Is that...
That would depend on the situation. There also is the water that does come down the river from Shasta.
Yeah.
Though I do know the ag in the south of the Delta right now are projecting a zero, depending upon if this year's as dry as it said, they may not get any water next year.
Okay. Shauna Lawrence is the general manager of San Juan Water District. Thank you so much for coming in on your Saturday.
Thank you for having me.
And you can... well, we didn't get any calls and questions today. Everybody's probably just trying to figure out, oh, my God, they're probably filling all their...
my head's spinning
they're
here
filling
thinking about all this.
They're filling their 5-gallon buckets of water right now. We're storing water. Forget gas. We're going to store water. So thank you so much. Maybe we can do this again as we have some future changes in our world here.
Absolutely.
You can catch a show on podcast during the week on our Talkin Money Facebook page if you'd like.
Catch Vince next week?
Yeah, Vince Mistraka will be in next Saturday to cover for John and I. You can find John during the week at johnfod.com or jefftarbell.com. We'll see you next Saturday, everybody. Thanks, Vince, for covering for us. Be cool. I'm getting some water. We'll be right back. Aloha.
Talking money.